You know, it's easy to miss all the subtle things that government does to minimise our rights or change the rules to suit themselves. We even have situations in Australia where the two major political parties, Labor and Liberal, make laws collectively that are designed to keep smaller parties out of the game completely. For example, South Australia's Labor government boasted at the beginning of this month that its world-leading political donations ban was now in effect, making it a bold new era in the state's democracy. Under the reforms, it is now illegal for anyone to make or for any politician to accept an electoral donation if they are part of a registered political party, a member of parliament, a candidate or group of candidates. If you break these brave new laws, you will face a delightfully friendly and highly democratic 10 years locked up in a prison cell. Like a lot of laws that erode our freedoms, this sounds great in theory. I'd like to know much, much more about where the Greens and the Teals get all their massive campaign cash from. But there's a few points of liberty that we should consider here. Why should any Australian not be allowed to put their cash where they want it to go in supporting a political candidate? Sure, make businesses, unions and lobby groups disclose their donations and put limits on them, fine. But if Jane Citizen wants to give $100 to her local candidate, why should any government be allowed to stop her? That doesn't sound very democratic to me at all. One of the biggest concerns here, and it's a very important one, was that it might turn out that unions would be exempted. The state of Queensland has a terribly biased law in which donations from unions are okay, but donations from companies in the property industry are not. Gee, I wonder which side of politics benefits most from that little tweaking of the rules. No doubt David Crisafulli's LNP government in the Sunshine State will now fix that little Labor racket soon, and good on him. But South Australia will be banning donations from unions, as Premier Peter Malinauskas told the ABC.
There has been a financial connection between the trade union movement and the Labor Party for over 100 years, and we're severing that link now. But it's my view that it's a far more pure objective of removing money from politics altogether. And if we as a Labor government want to get money out of politics from big business, then we've got to be willing to do it for unions as well in order to genuinely level the playing field.
Now, look, he seems like a good guy. He's probably genuine there, but I do get a little suspicious when pollies say they're doing the right thing. But credit where credit's due. If that's genuine, give him a medal. The reforms also regulate the independent political expenditure of all third parties. That includes businesses, unions, lobby groups and think tanks. Any group wanting to influence the outcome of an election, not by donating to any political party or politicians, but just by buying their own ads or running their own campaigns, even they will be subject to an expenditure cap of $450,000. Now, again, this all sounds nice in theory, but we will need to keep a very close eye on unintended negative consequences that may emerge. Now, another concern about all this was that a political donation ban would bias the incumbent big parties. As I said, we've seen other kinds of terrible laws, and some at a federal level that are clearly designed to massively disadvantage minor parties, giving Lib Lab a big advantage and perpetuating this uni-party perception of Aussie politics. But again, South Australia is claiming to have put a safeguard in place that will still allow new candidates not already in Parliament and not part of an incumbent party already in Parliament to take some donations.
We've very deliberately crafted the legislation in concert with advice that we received from an expert panel and the advocacy of independent organisations like the Centre for Public Integrity to ensure that these reforms aren't about baking in incumbency. In fact, where we've ended up, I think the opposite is true, where now would-be candidates will be able to get access to public funding in a way that wasn't available to them in the past, while at the same time, non-incumbent independent candidates and non-incumbent political parties will also be able to maintain their fundraising efforts. They'll be able to receive donations up to $5,000.
Okay, so it seems, again, like they're trying to do the right thing. But I really reckon this one is a bit of a sleight of hand, and I'm just not buying it. Sorry, Pete. If a minor party like One Nation, the Libertarians, the Greens, or SA Best already has just one MP in Parliament, they won't be exempted. Likewise for incumbent independents. Now, this does give the major parties an unfair advantage and promote incumbency, and I think it stinks. So I hope the good people of South Australia will keep a very close eye on how all this actually plays out in the years ahead. Surely just basic funding caps and full disclosures are all we need to protect our democracy turning into an American fundraising festival. This all seems to be a bit illiberal and a step too far. Another sneaky law that came in last year that we missed reporting on is a federal law that's removed the presumption of equal shared parental responsibility from the Family Law Act. What does that mean? Well, it means that courts no longer automatically assume that it's in a child's best interest for both parents to have an equal say in major long-term decisions. Before this law came in, the Family Law Act included a presumption that it was in a child's best interest for parents to have equal shared parental responsibility, equal rights to make major long-term decisions about their children, about things like education, healthcare, and religious upbringing. But the new laws claim to put the focus on whatever is, quote, in the best interests of the child, unquote, when determining parenting arrangements. And again, this sounds like a lovely law, putting the kids' interests first. But according to men's rights groups, what it actually is doing in practice is it's taking the power away from parents and handing it to the state via the court and the state-appointed children's lawyers. And guess which parent usually loses the authority? The court can now make more tailored arrangements, potentially including sole parental responsibility for certain issues, or a mix of shared and sole responsibility. This change wasn't about protecting kids from abuse, as they claim when it was brought in, because there were already laws for the state to step in if abuse was an actual factor. Andrew Gray from the podcast The Man Show claims some officers of the court seem to be using their power to push their own agendas, and it's time for men to speak out loudly about this.
We need a growing number of voices, whether they be face-to-face, whether they be on platforms like this, whether they be in, public meetings, a growing number of voices who point out the obvious, that the system we've got is broken. And to say it loud and courageous, it is broken. And a lot of people are stuck, as we know, just on the gender warfare side of it, or men do this, or women do this. Well, those things may sporadically be true or not, but the big problem is the damage that's been caused is to children and family units as a whole. And one of the most obvious things legislatively that's got to be advocated for is that when, very sadly, a partnership or a marriage breaks up and there are children involved, the default response should be that the time and the custody with the children is automatically set at 50-50. And there needs to be a serious and watertight case against the father or the mother. And I don't mean just a loose allegation, an actual watertight case that one of those parties is unable to provide safe and steady parenting. And unless that's present, every other allegation and label should be thrown out for the children's sake.
That's Andrew Gray from The Man Show. He's on YouTube. Check him out. If you like The Other Side, one of the best ways you can support us is by signing up for the products of our sponsors. And one of our best sponsors is PIA VPN, the virtual private network that stops people spying on your internet activity. It'll keep you and your family truly safe from the prying eyes of big governments and corporations without slowing down your internet speeds. And you can watch Netflix or other streaming services using your regular accounts with them as if you're viewing from any country in the world. You can sign up for less than $3 a month and get a whopping 83% off the normal price. Just go to piavpn.com/otherside to sign up and you'll get the discount. And you'll get more info on those special deals if you check it out. That's piavpn.com/otherside. That was a segment clip from our weekly Friday night news show, The Other Side, which you can watch in full by simply going to YouTube and searching up The Other Side Australia. Then you'll find our full shows playlist. You can also find all of our full shows and our segments on our own website, othersidetv.com.au. That's othersidetv.com.au. Help us build a whole new Aussie media by joining us over there and joining up, signing up for the exclusive side.